A number of command and control centers
What?
have been spotted on
That's
aerial
so
surveillance.
goofy looking.
Our
Like
mission
the way
is
his
to
arms are
identify
off to the side. That looks
destroy
like
these facilities.
that looks so
Beware.
silly.
The
Anyways,
execution of
that
the
completely ruins
Don't
my
stick
wow.
around
It's a
any longer than you need to
like the
get
view
the
over
job
there.
done.
Anyways, that completely ruins my intro. Welcome back. We are playing some more MechWarrior 5, and this is the Enforcer. Time to introduce, I suppose, the rival to the Centurion. If you remember in the last episode, I mentioned that the Centurion was beginning to be replaced by this exact battle mech, and now I got my hands on one so that we can see it. Alrighty, closing in on the first target. We actually got like an autocannon team here with the exception of the Raven. So, the Enforcer is what sometimes you might call a... Oh god, we have the... Everything's in reverse. I need this just like that. There we go. Alrighty, so the Enforcer is what you might call a Trooper Mech. I prefer a Line Mech, and I'll talk about that a little bit why later on. I just think it's a better term. But the Enforcer is a 50-ton mech that is very much slow for its size. It is 50 kilometers. It has, here we go. Ooh, I'm gonna get him now with my jump jets. Yeah. 50 tons jump capable, so it is a bit more flexible than the, what do you call it? The Centurion that it was compared to. And weaponry includes the big boy AC-10, a precision large laser, and a little baby small laser to round things out. As I said, it is a little bit slow, so, you know, it does have the disadvantage of it gets shot up a little bit more compared to other similarly sized mechs. And that's just because, well, you know, when you're slower, that means that you're going to get hit more often. But this mech, it does plan for that a bit. You know, this mech is definitely designed to slug it out with people rather than, you know, be like running circles around you and just like messing people up like that. And that's where it kind of gets its name, like as a trooper type mech. A trooper mech is basically a kind of like primary, like, okay, in modern day times we would refer to this as like an MBT, a main battle tank. I like the word line mech, which comes from the term ship of the line, if we were to use a naval term. And so you could translate that to mech of the line and then shorten that into line mech, meaning it is a mech designed to form a battle line at its weight level. And for some reason I just couldn't fire my large laser there. And that's exactly what this mech is intended to do. And it has, like, the firepower is actually pretty serious. Although mechs with a larger number of smaller weapons are capable of out-damaging it, they're not capable of outranging it, and that's the key to making this kind of like trooper line battle mech. In order to form a battle line and take advantage of good terrain positions, if you're limited to exclusively short-range weapons like medium lasers, SRMs, well then, you know, you can't really take cover very effectively. You know, you're always forced directly into the thick of it, and that's what makes these kinds of trooper mechs, these kinds of line mechs, that's where their name comes from, in that they have an emphasis on mid-range firepower. They tend to sacrifice a bit of speed in order to be more powerful, and by having a variety of, ooh, look at this. So here's a good example right here. We got ourselves a big boy hunchback, and because I have more range than it, I'm just going to try and snipe out that big... What was that? Are you cats doing something? I hear you making noise. I am just going to try to get his main autocannon, and before he can actually get into range, and if he tries to get any closer, I'm just going to back up. Looks like he's got a supported by it. See that SRM carrier? I don't even have to worry about it. I can ignore it, specifically because, there we go, we just disabled the AC-20, and now I can basically ignore it, specifically because I've got the range options. I could jump up here, and I could use the building for cover, and the the combination of the AC-10 and the large laser means I can basically provide fire support, but both of these weapons are perfectly good in close range as well. Like, I would have no problem at all using the AC-10 up close, and I have no problem using a large laser up close. So it's just a really great mid-range mech with the flexibility to kind of behave a little more like a sniper, or the ability to get up close, go rock'em sock'em robots in close-range combat. The little medium laser might seem kind of like an afterthought, but up close it really isn't, just because there are some enemies, there are certain vehicles that are going to survive the AC-10 hit. So you can go like bam with the AC-10 and then zippity zap them real fast with your small laser, and one, you don't have to shoot more ammo into them, and two, it destroys them really quickly. You probably zap them out before they get a chance to return fire at you. So overall, this is definitely it is a general purpose battle mech, very much designed for combat. It's not designed for scouting or anything like that. It's not designed for raiding. It's just designed to fight it out in these kind of midweight to maybe early heavyweight battles, or even in a really big scale battle, maybe a team of these appear to battle it out against even bigger mechs. But it's just general purpose battle mech, very accurate with the medium laser. It does have a little bit of an ammo issue.
Bruh.
It does have a little bit of an ammo issue.
And, it's massively off course. And that's because it only has 1 ton of AC-10 ammo. So, you do got to be a little more careful. In MechWarrior 5, they did, maybe they did in MechWarrior 4, but they did up the amount of ammo per ton in pretty much all weapons, just because originally 1 ton of AC-10 ammo would just be a mere 10 shots. And that's just it just wasn't very fun. So I'm guessing they did it just for the purposes of making the weapons more enjoyable to use. And there you go. Squish that guy, just like that. So here I am, I'm trying to repair my reputation with triangle people, because turns out I actually kind of want them, because they appear basically everywhere in the galaxy, and it would be nice to be able to get bigger paying missions, but God, we only get +2 friendship with them for doing these missions. And the doors are opening, allowing me to pilot one of my favorite medium mechs, the Crab. As we can see right here, you can see why it's called the Crab. It is clearly the pinchy guy. I love the Crab because I think it looks really, really cute. I especially like the little radio dish on it. And the Crab is probably best known on the channel for the Crab battle episode that I did in, It's what is their comms even looking like? Sir, we're being pinched to death. What are you saying? We're being pinched to death. Crab Battler Battletech, where I did the 4 crabs of different designs. And here we go. If you want, why do I like the Crab so much? It's because as a kid I have strong memories. In MechWarrior 2 Mercenaries, you start with a commando, and so you'd upgrade into a medium mech, and typically the medium mech I'd upgrade into would be the Crab. So the Crab is an interesting battle mech because it is intended for high-speed raiding, guerrilla warfighting, which is why we're doing this demolition mission. Doing the kind of mission it would actually be working on. And it's a very swift mech. It's not like a lightning bolt, but it's not slow either. So it runs at a speed of 81 kilometers as opposed to the 64 that the Enforcer runs at, and it's pretty well armored. One of the things that makes it a little different than other mechs of this type is that it doesn't have any jump jets. And because it doesn't have any jump jets, it's able to hit a little bit harder, have a little more support for its weapons. And its weapons, speak the devil, include 2 very, very useful, very flexible, large lasers, which I have on a chain fire mode. There we see we have a medium laser, and right over here, the little small laser. Oh, looks like I meant to use one of these. And these weapons are all energy-based, so this is another all-energy weapon, energy-based weapon, and it is definitely very useful considering you don't have to worry about, you don't have to worry about your ammo. The crab does come with a acceptable number of heat sinks. You could definitely overheat. It's not like, you know, like it's not the perfectly cool mech. But as long as you know how to pace your shots, that's why we have these in the chain fire mode, so that I'm not married into firing them all at the same time. And also knowing how to use, like, the small laser is actually quite important, because it lets you just tap some of these, it basically lets you not use the large laser and generate more heat than is necessary. And as you can see, the 81 kilometers is a very comfortable speed. It's not like the Dervish, where the Dervish only had 240 armor. So the mech, it definitely is capable of taking some damage, meaning you don't have to worry about being like super fragile. Like, you're fast enough, but you're armored enough that it's very much the spitting image of a skirmishing battle mech. It's just absolutely a great mech. Just that said, though, you do have to be careful when piloting it, because it's not unbeatable. Like, you are supposed to use every element of the crab to your advantage. You know, you want to outrun the enemies you can't outshoot, and you want to make sure you're using each of the weapons effectively so that you don't get, you know, right now I'm okay with firing all my guns because I've got plenty of room on my heat, but you'll notice that I'm definitely firing my smaller weapons as aggressively as I can, because they do more damage for the amount of heat. But over here we're going to Alpha Strike just to get this guy out of here. I said just to get this guy out of here. There. Oh, wow, this thing taking a beating. There we go. And, but now, you know, heat's about at 50, so I'm going to kind of slow down a little bit, focus on just pacing my shots a little bit more. And that's like, you gotta use the crab in a very balanced manner. Like, that's the key. The crab was built to be balanced, and so you want to play it in the same way. Able to outrange these turrets here. And, oh, good job, guys. Like, I barely even done any damage to the actual facility itself. There we go. And one thing I don't like about the crab is, yeah, as I mentioned before, I don't like the shot rhythm of medium lasers and small lasers together. I don't mind large lasers and medium lasers, and I don't mind large lasers and small lasers, but I specifically am not a fan of small lasers with medium lasers, and that's because their recharge times are just, they're a little too similar. They're not similar enough that I could use them together. Like, they just kind of feel like, they just feel out of sync, basically. That's the issue I have with them. But there you go, the crab. Very, very elegant battle mech. Oh, good, we got another, okay, hold on a sec. We got ourselves another battle mech to squish. Closing in on the Phoenix Hawk, so this mech is only a little bit faster than me, meaning I should be able to chase it around and bully it and basically force it to get into a kind of a retreat, because it's not going to want to be... Oh, also we got Rihanna, like, beating it up as well. But it's not going to want to, like, face me. But the problem is that it's not quite fast enough to really get away from me. And that's going to allow me to really just bully sight it out of here. Along with, obviously, the help of Rihanna. Come on. Got a cord out right there. I saw another mech. Look, I barely have any damage. Like, our team... And this, I chose a appropriately difficult mission for it. So over here, we're going to try to outrange it because it's got the SRMs. I'm going to focus on long-range combat here with the large lasers. Larger laser effective up to, I believe, 600 meters. So now I can just very calmly use the oh, there we go. And just like that, like, the crab, such an elegant mech. The large lasers are located in the two crab claw arms, meaning the lasers could shoot very high in the air. Very useful for bringing down helicopters. Oh, speak of the devil. Very useful for bringing some helicopters down, unless you miss. Then you can give them the zippity zappy.
Nope.
Just up for that. Oh, another battle mech. Come here. I will have words with you, good sir. Yes. Oh, you just want to ignore me, do you? Well, you know what? I think I'm just going to go for his leg real quick to stop him from being so quick. And because these are all lasers, that's actually really not hard to do because of how, there it is, the leg is out. So now he's a sitting duck. Now I'm actually faster than him, meaning I could start marauding him with my circle strafing. There we go. There we go. Up close, always want to shoot the medium lasers priority over the large lasers just because the damage, the heat is very nice. Over at the 50 heat right now. Let's get this guy over here. It's interesting how many mechs we're fighting, to be honest. Gonna go ahead and cut through this guy's leg and just try to, like, slow him down a little bit. There we go. Almost. There we go. Oh. He's jumping around. So, okay, we got the leg, which means I am gonna go for the kill on him now. Starting to overheat, but that is that. And as you can see, what a great mech. You just gotta love the crab. Alright, everyone, welcome to the system Stanzac. Apparently, there isn't really a convenient industrial hub anywhere around here unless I simply haven't revealed it. We either have to go to, like, Cameron or this little hub over here, which is annoying, because if I chart a course, it's like a good, like 62 days away, which is a little bit annoying, but what can you do? Anyways, let's go ahead and take a look at our battle mech. So first up, we've got the Enforcer, painted in Sniping Legends color scheme, Blood Kiss, and I think it turned out pretty good. I like how the little kneecaps and shoulder pads are looking. And here is how the mech looks. We got ourselves 4 jump jets. We've got the AC-10, the large laser, the small laser, 4 heat sinks, and 1 ton of AC-10. And I definitely think we can do some things to, mix it up a little bit. The first thing I want to do is remove all the jump jets and see how much armor we can get. Okay, so it looks like that hits the cap on our armor, because we can tell because it didn't quite take us up to 50. And I do believe this mech needs a lot of armor, and that's simply because, well, it's not very fast. So we also want, one thing we can do is let's see how much armor we would have if we just take 1 ton of armor off. Just because, like, one thing we definitely want to change is we want to have twice as much ammo. So let's go ahead and take the armor off, put the armor back on. That'll take us down to 320. And right now I just got to think, is 320, is that good enough for this mech? And I feel like the answer is yes. I think the answer is yes. Alright, and so here is my idea for the mech. So, to be honest, the Enforcer does not have a lot of room for any modifications, simply because it only has 3 hard points. And they're big hard points, which means in order to use up the tonnage, we're going to need to use big, we're just going to have to use, like, big weapons. So, we could go AC-5 PPC, but honestly, like, we haven't used large laser as much, and I want to try out large laser short burst as maybe turning because, like, basically I want a rapid fire weapon that can spare the AC-10 its ammo. I don't want to shoot the AC-10 at turrets. I'll still do it, but I'm thinking, can I get a weapon that can just clean up the helicopters and the turrets more effectively? Because large laser short burst doesn't do as much damage. It does 7 damage, whereas the standard large laser, let's make sure it's the same quality. So the standard large laser does 10 damage. Large laser short burst does 7, so it's 3 damage less. But the large laser short burst shoots faster at, let's just round it up to 14 shots per minute, whereas the large laser shoots 9 times. So this thing can shoot, basically 5 times more per minute if I do, unless I'm derping out on my math, which, it shoots more. That's the important point. We've got double the ammo. 320 armor is still pretty heavy. Mainly took it off the legs and then shaved a little bit off here and there, enough where it shouldn't really make too much of a difference. But I want to give it a shot, mainly because I want to try out these large laser short bursts. Next up, we've got the good old crab. You can see the little pinchy hands right there. The pinchy hands are not used for melee combat, despite the fact that I do like to pinch things in Battletech. In fact, the crab isn't intended for melee combat. You wouldn't want to melee with, like, laser weapons just because they tend to jostle up delicate electronics around. So let's take a look at it, though. So, what we got here is the primary weapons, the pair of large lasers. We got the medium laser in the torso, and then the small laser is That would be it right over here next to the Mech's cockpit. And to keep the heat under control, it has 6 heat sinks. So as you can see, a pretty comfortable amount of heat sinking capability. Armor is 288, which is only slightly less than I would typically want. But let's see what we can do. Okay, so here's something that's annoying me. I appear to have caught some kind of bizarre glitch. So I'm going to take off both of the large lasers, and I want to replace them with large chemical lasers. You can see right here I got 3 of them. 1, 2, now that's fine. Now I want to put on 3 tons of large chemical laser ammo, so let's pull 3 of these out. And we can see right here I've got 10 tons of large chem laser ammo. And look at that, it only lets me put, it's now acting as if I don't have any remaining. That has to be some kind of weird glitch, and the only thing I can do is start the work, and now wait the 20 days for the modifications to take place, and then continue from there. Okay, so after having to manually put things on a few times, this is what we have, and I think we've got something fairly interesting going on here. So, the large lasers have been swapped out for the large chemical lasers. So let's compare the stats. So large chemical laser does 8 damage, and it shoots 15 times, versus the regular large laser does the 10 damage, so it does 2 more damage. But look at the difference in the rate of fire. Here's something I didn't notice. Large laser shoots 9 times per minute, while large chemical laser shoots 15 times per minute. And then the heat is also very significant, 2.5 to 7.5, so a very significant difference in heat generation. We've got 3 tons of large chemical laser ammo because we really want to shoot these very aggressively. And then I want to embrace the idea that the backup weapons on the Crab are mainly designed to help you just kind of like clean up small targets that the large lasers themselves didn't quite finish off, as well as just provide a little bit of extra damage in close combat. So we're going to try out the small laser short burst that has a remarkable shooting speed of 32 times per minute, and we still have 3 heat sinks, which I suspect is going to be really good because the small laser is not a hot weapon. And these large lasers are very cool compared to the standard large laser. So very interested to see how this goes. Like, it seems like the large chemical laser compared to the medium chem and the small chem could actually be fantastically good. But there it goes again with the weird do you think no one's gonna notice that, Enforcer? You think no one's gonna notice that your arms are off to the side like that? But if the Enforcer was meant to go to the battle lines, then to the front lines it shall go in a defensive mission. So, we're going to be talking a little bit about the history of the Enforcer, and this is a very, very well-known battle mech. In fact, it's such a iconic mech that if you bought the BattleTech Tabletop Minis starter set, it's like a $20 or $30 starter box, you will find that the tutorial battle features an Enforcer versus a Hunchback, just as interesting. I forgot we're trying out the short burst lasers. The sound is so different. It's got this kind of hissing sound to it. Interesting. I do believe I need to get a little bit closer. I want to see if can the large laser short burst destroy a helicopter in one hit if we're within 600 meters and I have good aim? Yes, it can. That's a very hopeful sign. Alrighty, so the Enforcer begins its history as an unfinished Star League battle mech that would be discovered by the Federated Suns, who would basically use it and then basically finish the mech in their worlds, and it became an extremely popular mech amongst the Federated Suns. And the reason for this is because 1, they just needed more mechs, and 2, the mech uses an autocannon, and the Federated Suns, they love autocannons. That's their favorite weapon. So finding an incomplete Star League battle mech that uses an autocannon as its main weapon was oh goody, yes, put it into production, good sir. Well, we would certainly be very thrilled to add the Enforcer to our arsenal. So construction began. the mech began, it basically came around 2770 something, about the same time the Centurion did, so right at the end of the Star League Civil War and the beginning of the First Secession War. So the Enforcer and the Centurion, they've had this kind of like long time, like, I don't know if rivalry is the correct word, but they're two mechs that fulfill a somewhat similar purpose, and they both came into existence around the same time. So as soon as the Enforcer was created, it immediately just became a humongous favorite for the Federated Suns, and that's because they like autocannons. It was a very tough battle mech. It was similar to the Centurion, but it did not have the problem that the Centurion had with the autocannon having basically jamming issues and therefore having extensive repairs. The mech did have its weaknesses, though. It wasn't the perfect mech, and one of the problems was that it only has 1 ton of ammo for its AC-10, which was its main weapon, and as a result, it kind of felt like it was chained to supply lines. However, because the Federated Suns love these autocannon weapons, you know, they made accommodations for it. They actually attempted to redesign the Enforcer to remove the small laser and add an extra ton of ammo in, but they found that there was just no space inside the mech, like within the armored hull of the mech. There just wasn't any room for it, and the only way to get it to work was to run the ammunition through the back of the Centurion to the front of next to its arm. And one of the weaknesses of, not the Centurion, the Enforcer, one of the weaknesses of the Enforcer is that its rear armor isn't as heavy as its forward armor, and that's because it is, as I said, it is a trooper kind of battle line mech, and it wasn't really intended to get flanked. And because, you know, you can't have armor everywhere, you know, you gotta be missing armor somewhere, they just designed it to be missing armor more so in the back, more so than normal. Every mech has less armor in the back, but for the Enforcer it was especially bad. So ultimately, while they tried to fix the issue of ammo, it just never happened, and so, well, the small laser just wound up staying. The Enforcer, it never lost its popularity. Like, it just continued to become more and more popular, and when the Centurion was struggling due to the technicalities of repairing the autocannon, the Enforcer just kept getting more and more popular, and it got even worse for the Centurion. Around the year 3050, when basically the first Prince of Davion, that's basically their ruler, he commissioned a Star League refit of the Enforcer, basically a complete upgrade. It went from like 64 kilometers per hour to 81. The AC-10 was upgraded into an LBX AC-10. The large laser upgraded into an ER large laser. The small laser actually just stayed a normal small laser, and it was just really good. And as soon as it was designed, the Federated Suns just commissioned a 10-year contract to have just as many of these built as possible. And that is finally when the Centurion was never completely replaced, but the Enforcer would finally become the iconic mech of the Federated Suns. And the doors are opening to unleash our new Crab. The Crab was designed as a mech for raiding and guerrilla warfare, and therefore this raid mission ought to be perfect for it. Crab's has actually a fairly interesting history because it is a mech with both a meteoric rise and a meteoric fall. Crab is actually a Star League mech. In fact, it was not just any Star League mech. It was going to be the Star League medium mech. Like, when it was created, it became wildly popular to the point that a lot of people thought that it was going to become the official medium mech of the Star League. However, with a mighty rise, it also had a mighty fall. So, how does the Crab begin its story? Well, It was created towards the end of the Star League, not quite at the Civil War. It was designed to begin assisting with the issue of the Periphery Wars, actually. The Periphery there was a lot of, like, fighting, you know, infantry, like guerrillas. There was a lot of raiding going on, and so the Star League wanted a new kind of guerrilla battle mech that would be capable of... Wow, I'm surprised I didn't get... There we go. Get these guys a little faster. Let me see how this weapon does up close. Interesting. Oh, here we got another... We are doing a 200 difficulty mission. I want something, you know, a little more appropriate for our battle mechs here. But basically, we got this issue of the Star League is fighting a lot of guerrillas. They're fighting, like, insurgents and stuff like that. So they need a mech that it's quick, it's agile, and what the Crab really offered that other... Because, you know, like, I mean, there's a Shadowhawk, isn't there? There's a Griffin, isn't there? Like, what does the Crab do that they don't? And the answer is the Crab was designed to not be tied to resupply points. It was specifically intended to be free of ammunition constraints, and that would allow you to raid anywhere you want. You didn't have to be chained to a resupply point, and that is what made the Crab wildly popular in the time of the Star League, because that's what they really, really needed. They needed to be able to go wherever they needed to, just any battle, any place, anytime, with speed, and even though the Crab sacrificed its jump jets, it didn't need to go back for constant rearmament. So what exactly happened to the Crab? Like, its star was on the rise. Well, its star then was on the fall when the Star League itself collapsed. The problem that the Crab ran into is that not all, but most of the Crab factories were either crippled or destroyed, and it made producing new Crabs very difficult, and it made repairing any of the existing Crabs also quite difficult. And what wound up happening was the advanced armor that the Crab was designed with, they just couldn't make it anymore. And as a result, they had to downgrade. They had to make basically a cheaper version of the Crab, because once you changed the armor from its advanced furrow-fibrous armor that it used in the time of the Star League down to the standard armor, well, now it just couldn't fit its same equipment loadout. So the original Crab was then downgraded into the one that we see now, the CRB-20. The original, like, you can actually find the original Crab. It's the CRB-20B. That one isn't in this game, but you can get the other version of it, the CRB-27SL. That is the original version of the Crab with an absolutely brutal pair of large pulse lasers. It actually has jump jets, and it has advanced armor and double heat sinks. A very elegant battle mech. But ultimately, well, as I said, what would happen is the Crab would just get screwed by not being able to get any replacement parts, and the mech would ultimately just become more or less unusable. Even the downgraded Crabs began to have this problem, and it just became, like, maybe not an extinct mech, but very much an endangered mech, a mech that you just didn't see anymore. And because it was associated with the Star League, the Crab just kind of had this kind of like a magical element to it, like where it's just kind of like, the good old Crab. I remember something about the Star League, and the Crab was an important part of it. So the Crab is kind of like a ghost of the Star League as a result. Now, the Crab would not remain a very rare mech forever. Eventually, with the rediscovery of lost technology, it was possible to bring the original Crab back. In addition to that, Comstar, they actually were hoarding a ton of genuine original Crabs, and they actually used them when they militarized, especially during the battles with the clans, and they actually had a whole bunch of the classic CRB-27s. And that was actually a really big advantage for them, because although the Crab, even the original Star League Crab, is not on the same level as a clan mech, it's so much more powerful than an Inner Sphere mech that it still gave them a maybe the word is advantage, but it closed the disadvantage a good bit between them and the clans. Anyways, there you have it. Not sure how I felt pretty good about these designs, but I'm still kind of like, just pretty good. I didn't feel like super massively good, and some of that is because there's just not a lot you can do with these mechs, and that's because they don't have very many hard points. And if you don't have a lot of hard points, well then there's not a whole lot of wiggle room. I felt like this mech more or less felt the same. I am interested in large laser short burst. It does seem like you do need to be pretty on target to make sure you knock out those aerial vehicles and turrets. But overall, like, if you've got the aim, then I think the short burst large laser definitely has promise. The thing, though, is that the Enforcer, it doesn't really struggle with heat, so I might just switch back to the normal large laser because I didn't really feel like heat was that big of a deal, and that's because the big ol' AC-10 over here, it's a very heat-efficient weapon for the damage it outputs. As for the crab, there you can actually see the large lasers protected in the crab claw-like gauntlets of the crab. I'm not sure, like, it felt definitely more heat-efficient. For sure. Like, I actually could fire very aggressively and not have to worry about heat, so I feel like it did perform better, but it feels kind of like I would need to play it a few more times. It wasn't like with the Kintaro, who we don't have up here. With the Kintaro, I felt like a really huge difference where I was not burning up, whereas with this mech, you know, I think it felt better, and I just didn't get also that mission unfortunately just ended very quickly, and I just didn't get a good feel for the small laser short burst. So it's like I couldn't get a good read on it. You let me know what you think down in the comment section, though. But what would you do with these two mechs? How would you have designed them, the Enforcer and the Crab? What did you think about the story? Tell me your designs down in the comment section. Any interesting questions and comments that you got, or even any like ordinary or dumb questions. I'll take any questions or comments. Anyways, like the video if it was entertaining. Subscribe for future MechWarrior 5 Heroes of the Inner Sphere rags to riches content. And of course, remember that you don't have to be good to get good.